What's up guys, Houndish here. Today we're jumping in with a Tuesday news update. I know, it's absolutely mind-blowing, right? We've got a couple of Destiny related things to talk about, also some Bungie updates. Some of it pertaining to this week, so we're getting another patch. Bungie have also given heads up regarding potential server issues this week, and their test for double invasions in the Lawless Frontier, so we'll briefly mention that. Some other conversation more broadly about the launch of Marathon and Destiny, the relationship between those two, and Bungie offers some reassurance that Destiny 2 isn't going anywhere, reportedly. So we've got all of that and a sad community update as well, which we'll get into in the video. So if you enjoy this one, do us a huge favor and say something kind about Archie the dog down in the comment section. Now though, let's get into the updates for today. The very first one is that we are seeing another game update. I actually didn't necessarily expect one, although it makes sense because we know Bungie have got a few technical things going on with the game this week. So first, for the update, Tuesday, February 3rd, we'll get patch 9551. As always, there'll be a little bit of downtime ahead of that one, so I think it will last for around an hour and a half before the weekly reset from around 7:35 AM PST. And then the game should indeed come back at 9 AM Pacific when the patch itself will actually drop. Outside of a couple of technical notes that Bungie have given us, we're not aware of any other potential patch changes just yet. The one thing to keep in mind, firstly, on Thursday, they've said they're conducting some server testing that could result in more error codes. So I think that's going to be from 11 AM Pacific on Thursday. The other component this week is that Bungie will double invasions in the Lawless Frontier, which basically means each run of the Frontier is able to be invaded twice. It's a bit of an experiment. I think they're kind of messing around with the matchmaking components to avoid excessive amounts of double crosses. That also means if you are invading for things like the Red Crystal, if you find the double cross particularly jarring, then hopefully you'll have a better experience invading this week. Whereas if you don't like being invaded, obviously we're only going to see more of it. So like I said, interesting experiment and we'll see how it pans out. Following last week though, where Bungie had that Dark Age Hunt challenge to complete Warlord's Ruin, of course it awards the emblem that we can see on screen. In terms of when that will actually be granted to accounts though, Bungie have said emblems will be granted within 30 days after verification from the Bungie analytics team. So there is a verification process and these emblems won't be dropping immediately. I don't think Bungie had actually outlined that during the event, they've said it since. So either way, if you're eligible, that one should be dropping in the next month. Otherwise, there's also the Oath of the Renegades reward emblem that's being unlocked for the entire community. It's this one. That was following an event that actually took place in December, but Bungie have said it will be granted later in the year, which is interesting. Bit more of a sad news update here briefly, but Dextero shared, Artemis, the real-life dog who inspired Destiny 2's tower companion Archie, has died, and his owner has asked players to honour him in-game by petting Archie in the tower, or by using the loyal companion emote. So if you want to show your condolences that way, and of course celebrate Artemis and Archie in general, that's something to keep in mind this week. They actually provided a bit more context around what has happened. So Artemis's owner, Christian, posted to Reddit, a couple of years back they had the opportunity to make a wish with Bungie that centered around me and my dog Artemis. You may recognize Artemis as the robot dog Archie in the tower. I'm saddened to say though that Artemis passed away today, and he was unfortunately shot by one of our neighbors after he ran off our property, which is obviously a particularly distressing thing to happen, right? Especially in the context of Archie's relationship with Christian, with Artemis inspiring Archie through a Make-A-Wish campaign, right, that was part of the Bungie Foundation's charitable efforts, and Christian's gone through numerous health struggles that Artemis kind of played a part in actually guiding them through. So it's a really sad story, and like I said, especially unpleasant that things happen the way they did. Obviously, we can't really verify precisely why something like that happened, but we can show a bit of support to Christian, and I guess honour Artemis's life through Archie, who's still very much a prominent figure for the Destiny player base, I suppose. So very sad story, but we can show at least a little bit of community support by giving Archie a bit of love in the tower. Moving away from that and back to the Destiny stuff, or I guess the broader Bungie news, there is still speculation about what the timeline is going to look like for upcoming Destiny updates. Paul Tassi posted an article here and said, all hands on deck right now at Bungie are for the Marathon launch in just over a month. But the problem is that Bungie has another game, Destiny 2, that players have invested into for a decade now, and Bungie aren't being terribly forthcoming about what's coming as of yet. It highlights Bungie began talking about the D2 roadmap last fall, something that was fairly common in the years before this, mapping out the game's future. And at one point they even announced 3 years of expansions at once in the past. However, now the clock has been ticking and we're a month into 2026 without that roadmap arriving. And he highlights that Bungie have posted various twabs or twids with no specific information, but also said, because obviously it has to be officially announced, I can't imagine that an announcement for Shadow and Order will not be alongside the Fabled roadmap, which now has to be released in the next month. There are unconfirmed rumours that Shadow and Order could be pushed back as long as 2 months according to a seasonal clock that's in reference to the updated Eververse schedule. which goes up until April 28th, but he says that would be eyebrow-raising given that it's supposed to be just 3 months from launch of an expansion to a major update, and 6 months until the next expansion itself. And we're now talking about a 5-month gap just for probably not that big of an update. So he questions why it's taking so long to map this out, although he does says, "I've been reassured by Bungie that Destiny itself is not going anywhere, and there's no plan to kill it off if Marathon is a hit and needs more resources devoted to it. If anything, Marathon surging would very much help Destiny by keeping Bungie afloat and relevant among Sony studios." So that's interesting, given that we know Paul Tassi was also given details about the delay for Shadow and Order, and he's the only person that's made an announcement about it, albeit unconfirmed or unofficial. But according to Tassi, his sources at Bungie are offering reassurance that there's no plan to kill Destiny off, so I guess you can take that or leave it. It's an interesting bit of conversation at the very least. But he highlights lastly that D2 players want reasons to keep showing up. He also talks about how weird of a strategy it is for Bungie to be pushing a new game launch and trying to pull players from their existing franchise Destiny into that launch while simultaneously not delivering on stuff that's very important for the Destiny community specifically, and I totally agree with that. I'm not saying everyone would jump over to Marathon immediately, but I feel like if Bungie were a bit more positive about the future of Destiny 2, and if their communication pipeline was better in general, that would probably leave more players feeling positive about the future and willing to check out Marathon. So it's weird that they're allowing this kind of sour taste to cultivate at the same time as trying to push Marathon, but I guess there are other forces at play right now, including Sony, who, given that Bungie often find themselves getting into all kinds of weird news in the press, you know, there was the stolen art thing, there have been various dramas around Destiny itself, it could be that Sony are saying just don't talk about it. We don't want anything to impact Marathon launching. But essentially that's why the community feels so uneasy at the moment, is that while Bungie have up and downs in their communication, the quietness right now is, well, it's on a different level, isn't it? The whole vibe is different, so it feels like other things are going on behind the scenes, and I think probably that is the case. On that subject, Destiny Bulletin highlighted here, it was 4 years ago this last week since Sony announced its acquisition of Bungie for $3.6 billion, which is still a mind-boggling amount of money. And we're going to see how it really comes to fruition or not with Marathon's launch and whatever happens with D2. Otherwise, a separate thing here, but PlayStation have revealed limited edition PS5 peripherals, a controller and headset, which are Marathon themed. So if you like the look of those, you can check them out. I actually don't think they look that cool. I'm not hating on them, but I just think Marathon has such a strong art style, and this is almost like a watered down version of it, right? I know that art style is kind of so strong that some folks actually don't like it. Maybe that's why these are a little bit more generic, although, yeah, you just have to give me your thoughts below. For the moment, that's what we have to talk about. I'll keep you posted with updates today and through the course of the week about all things related to Bungie in their month ahead, which is going to be a big one, both in terms of having to announce Destiny stuff, having an open playtest for Marathon, and indeed Marathon's full launch. I know it's been rocky, but this is a really big month for Bungie. So I'll keep you posted on how it's going. If you've enjoyed the video, a rating would help me out a lot. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any updates. I feel like there'll be a few things to talk about soon, so keep it locked and loaded. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.